Well, hello. Welcome to Tennessee Mental Wellness Instagram Live Wednesday. We are so excited to be here for anyone who's joining us live or who watches this later. This is our second time with a live thing, and we're still figuring it out, but we're having a lot of fun. So I'm here today with Tiffany Zwart. She is one of our amazing therapists at Tennessee Mental Wellness. Tiffany specializes in working with teens and young adults and adults around areas of anxiety, depression, postpartum, and then she also specializes in working with the LGBTQ plus population. Anything you want to add to that?
It's good.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, well today we thought it would be fun to have a little intro to therapy. What is therapy like? What can a brand new client who is thinking, gosh, maybe things are not as ideal as I'd like them to be in life, and what can I do about that, and what would therapy be like, and especially if somebody's a little nervous to start therapy. So we thought we'd answer some questions that we typically get about what is therapy like. So the first question we'll answer is what can somebody expect when they start therapy? Like, what is kind of like those first steps in the process? So you want to take that?
So initially, when you make a phone call, you'll get some paperwork to fill out. It's going to be, the intake is essentially your background, a little historical perspective about you, and kind of giving us an idea of why you're here. So once you complete that paperwork, you'll be set up for your first appointment. Mm-hmm. Now, coming into your first appointment, we notice our clients are usually pretty nervous, and that's to be expected. Sometimes we're nervous too. We're getting to meet you for the first time, you're meeting us, and it can be nerve-wracking on both sides. Mm-hmm. What we want you to know is that everything that you say in our session is safe. And so when you come in, essentially what we do is we go through what we call informed consent. So we'll let you know how confidentiality works. We'll let you know a little bit about us and what qualifies us for the work that we do. And then we'll move into, benefits and also some of the stickier things about counseling, about how you may come in one day and feel really great because you've overcome something, and then you may come in another time and really process through some difficult emotions, and it can be a roller coaster. And so we want to prepare you for what to expect. So that's a little bit in a nutshell what your first appointment will look like.
I like that a lot. Yeah, and especially the part about therapy has definite benefits, and it can be challenging, just like any growth or transformation process. The progress is not linear, and in therapy, even when we're feeling when the client is not feeling great, it doesn't mean that they are backsliding. I like to explain to clients that progress is kind of like a spiral. So you may be revisiting similar unhealthy patterns or negative thought processes, and it might feel like, I'm back to where I started, but you're not. You're kind of leveled up each time because, when you're encountering that same maybe negative pattern, you're approaching it with more skills, more awareness, more ability to navigate that in a healthier way, every single time that you go through it. So progress is a spiral up, not a linear.
Another thing about therapy that I think is a common misconception is that therapy is not advice giving. We are not here to tell you how to live your life. We're not here to make your life mimic ours. The goal is to come alongside you and help you become the best version of yourself so that you are able to make the best decisions for you. We are not perfect. We don't do everything right all the time. And so,
speak for yourself.
and oftentimes what I tell my clients is, I'm not going to give you advice because I don't have to suffer the negative consequences of poor advice. So if I tell you should do this and you do that and it blows up in your face, I'm not affected by that, but you are. And so we're not into the field of advice giving. School would be much shorter if we were, yes, we could just say what we wanted.
Yes, that's great. Okay, well, let's go to some questions that somebody who's potentially wanting to start therapy might have. Let's go to the one, how long will I need to be in therapy? How often do you go to therapy? So I'll answer part of that. There's been some really good research that shows that people who go to therapy weekly experience better outcomes and end up going to therapy fewer times and spending less money than people who go bi-weekly or monthly or intermittently. I know that finances are a concern for a lot of people who start therapy, especially if they're paying out of pocket and not using insurance. But I think considering that spending less overall, you're gonna experience more progress by coming weekly, really diving in, keeping the momentum going, rather than kind of like a start and stop approach to therapy.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. The more consistent you can be here and kind of ride the momentum of your healing, the better off you'll be. As it relates to how long do I need to go, it's different for every client. It oftentimes is determined by what you're going through. If you have an upcoming decision that you need to make, or maybe you've just adjusted, you've just moved and you're experiencing some anxiety about it, that may be a shorter term therapeutic approach than maybe if you've experienced a lifetime of trauma. And so there's no one size fits all for therapy. And once you start feeling better, you and your clinician will talk through, what does this look like now? Where are we at now? How, we all formulate a diagnosis and treatment plan and work our way through it. And the goal is to see movement and to see you getting better. And the more we see you getting better, the more that we can discuss where you are with your treatment.
That's great, yeah. What do you talk about in therapy? That's another question that people have before starting therapy. Like, what are we even going to be talking about? Am I going to be sharing my whole life history with you? What is it like?
So yes, you probably will share your whole life history with us. And I think we've talked about this before. It is an honor and a privilege for us to sit in that space with our clients. So, we may start out finding out about your family history. We may, find out about what is your job? What do you do? What does your family look like? What are your past experiences? What do you like? What do you not like? And really just finding out about you. We want to take a holistic approach. So the goal is not to find out who we're going to blame for what's happening in your life. The goal is for us to know more about you, because we are all complex human beings and we are the sum of our experiences. And so gaining that information is helpful for us to maybe recognize patterns or ways that your experiences have affected behavior or even your thought processes.
Yeah, I will add to that. In our practice, we're a trauma-informed practice, so we all take a trauma-informed approach, which means that we view unhealthy patterns, compulsive behavior, or mental health symptoms that you might be suffering with as symptoms of trauma. So in those earlier sessions, we're also going to be asking detailed questions about, I guess, to try to get a sense for what are some of the things that have been traumatic for you that are staying with you. And we know that they're staying with you if you continue to feel, like what we call activation about them. You feel like an anger or a hurt or a big feeling about an event that happened maybe long in your past, and that would be something that we would work on healing through our trauma healing modalities throughout the course of therapy.
And sometimes we talk about things that aren't so serious.
Sure.
Right? I hear a lot of laughter in these walls, and so we celebrate successes as well as processing through some really difficult times. I know I hear a lot of laughter out of your office, and I think recognizing that your healing journey can be enjoyable. This is not something we want you to dread walking into. We want to sit in that space with you, and we want to know about all of your wins and we'll get to hear a lot of your losses too.
Yes. The therapeutic relationship is one that can be kind of a first taste that some people have of like a healthy relationship, and it's a different relationship because it is a professional relationship, and we have very strict boundaries and ethics that we adhere to. But it's also a chance for somebody to be able to experience feeling safe, maybe for the first time ever, safe sharing something deep or challenging, or feeling validated, about their feelings, or feeling celebrated, or being able to be maybe a little bit goofy or silly and it be accepted. And so we that's another benefit of therapy that we provide.
And with that being said, the better your relationship is with your therapist, the better outcomes for your healing. So the safer you feel in session, the more connected you feel with your therapist, and the more you feel like you are able to really be your true authentic self in that space, is highly indicative of the healing that you will experience. So make sure, if you haven't found a therapist yet and you're going into that intake appointment, make sure that you're feeling that connection. Make sure that you're feeling heard, you're feeling valued, because that's important for your well-being.
Yeah, there's research that shows that one of the most important element of therapy that is effective is the connection that the client feels with the therapist. Do they feel seen, valued, validated? Do they feel like the therapist gets them, and really gets what they're going through? They didn't necessarily have to go through the same thing, but do they feel like they get it, and that they know that the therapist has kind of a plan or a roadmap for what to do with those challenges? It should feel very different than just chit-chatting with a friend. Therapy should feel different than just venting, to somebody also. So we get some questions from our clients, and Tiffany and I were talking about this earlier, and we were kind of chuckling that we tend to get similar questions from clients, especially if they're just starting out in therapy. But one question that I commonly get from newbie clients is this normal, what I'm feeling, or am I crazy, or do you think I'm crazy because I think this or I feel this? What do you answer when you get that question?
No, you're not crazy. Yeah. More than likely, if you're feeling this, someone else has felt this too. And your feelings are safe with us. What your experiences are safe with us. And I think, we hear all kinds of things, and I cannot reiterate enough what a privilege and honor it is to be able to sit in that space with those feelings and to be able to explore what those are. So yeah, and do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. You're absolutely not crazy. It's normal. Whatever you're feeling is valid, because your feelings are your body's signals. They're your body's way of communicating with you about a need that you have. So rather than judging, we tend to learn to judge our feelings or make ourselves feel wrong about them. What we try to do is help our clients value their feelings, validate them, and get curious about what might these feelings be trying to communicate to you that you need in this moment.
And even that question alone might help us to see maybe your feelings haven't been validated in your past. Maybe, just thinking that you might be putting too much on us with your emotions, or that all comes from what you've probably been taught, or you have just internalized that your feelings are too much, or you are too much, and we have space for all of it.
I have a little tool that I use in with clients who are who apologize when they cry. They're like, I'm so sorry, I'm crying, which happens a lot, of course. My tool is to say, please don't apologize. Say thank you for listening. So instead of saying I'm so sorry, say thank you for listening, because it's helping them receive the empathy that I'm giving them, and the space that I'm holding, and to really take it in, instead of oh, something's wrong with me for crying or having this emotion. I'm sorry that you have to be a part of it. it's helping them learn to value, that they can feel however they feel. And so,
yeah, and we might cry with you. I know that I will.
Yeah.
I tell my clients from the get-go, I will laugh with you and I will cry with you. And so, and that is not to make you feel, you are not responsible for my feelings or my response to what you're experiencing. But typically, hopefully, most therapists have high levels of empathy. We can feel with you. And the goal is to feel in that space with you that your feelings are valid and what you experienced was horrific or unfair, and we can sit in that space with you. And we have chosen to do this, to sit in that space with you, and it is, once again, a privilege and an honor.
Yeah, and you are incredibly empathetic. You bring a lot of that to the sessions.
Too many tears.
It's inspiring. But that leads me to another question that we get a lot, which is how can we sit and hear people's problems all day? How can we stand that, because especially like highly empathetic people who might feel and absorb other people's emotions it might be very draining and wearing to hear other people's problems. So what do you say to that, Tiffany? Because as someone who is very empathetic, but also a very skilled therapist, how do you sit with listening to people's problems all day?
Ooh. So it's such an interesting question, because sometimes I do take it home. Sometimes I do take home client situations, and I really have to sit with that and think through it. Also recognizing that I can't carry everything home. Mm-hmm. I can sit in that space with you in that moment, and I would never want a client to think that they have put something on me that was too heavy or too much. I honestly don't know how or what I do.
Can maybe I'll bring
Please
words
share.
to what you do that you haven't realized. Well, the big difference, I think, between an untrained person listening to somebody vent and a trained therapist, trained professional like a therapist, is that we are given tools to know what to do with people's pain. So it doesn't feel like hopeless to us. Like as my clients are sharing about their pain or traumas, I'm feeling with them, I'm empathizing, and also I'm formulating a roadmap or a treatment plan for okay, I know something to do with this. I think the feelings feel much more overwhelming when we feel stuck in them and we don't know how to get out of it. But that's where, for me, I don't. I feel with you in the moment, and then I don't carry it because I'm like, okay, we have a way out of this. I can, through the tools and skills that we've learned, we can get you through this and help you heal.
I also think, I've thought about this before now that you say that, it's not helpful for me to take those feelings home and feel sad separate and apart from the situation. So I can feel with you in the moment, but like Emily said, really thinking of ways that we can move forward, and really, like, I think a lot of my focus is on, okay, how can we empower you moving forward? And even helping our clients to understand that they don't have to carry the weight of everybody else's feelings all the time. They don't have to be responsible for other people's emotions and what they're experiencing. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, great. Are there any other questions that you can think of, Tiffany, that we get from clients, or anything that would be helpful to talk about for people who are considering starting therapy?
Yeah, so one thing I thought of is, what is therapy like? So it's not one size fits all. And I think, when you're looking for a therapist, you can look for different specializations. You can look for different areas that they, may work better with, and making sure you do feel that connection is really important. Therapy looks different with every therapist. But the bottom line is you definitely need to feel safe, and you need to feel heard and valued. And I just think that that's, so incredibly important.
Yeah. Okay, well, how does this, we'll wrap up with this last question. How does somebody know if they need therapy, or, you know, if this is the time to start seeking out therapy?
Ooh. Do you want to answer that?
I was going to give that to you, and then I'd add anything.
So I think, so all of us have issues in our life, but oftentimes people will seek out therapy when they've gotten to maybe the end of their rope, like I can't handle this anymore, and they just feel it, or it's maybe affecting different areas of their life. So oftentimes a lot of us struggle with anxiety, and we can typically power through. But when it gets to be unbearable and it's affecting your home life, your work life, your, you know, family and your interactions socially, that might be the time to reach out. I also want to say, make sure you have a therapist who has a therapist, because I think that that's important.
Okay, explain more about that. That is very important, but yeah, explain what you mean by that.
So you want someone who believes in the work that they do. And, you know, if you go to a therapist who isn't taking time to process their life experiences and what they're going through, and even the work that we do, I think it's I don't want to say it's a red flag, but I think that it's very important to make sure you find someone who really believes that therapy is helpful and beneficial for their life. And, you know, when we're doing the work, we can be better to help you do the work.
Yes, because therapy is transformation. It's the work of transformation. You know, people feel stuck because they're trying to solve the problem, you know, using the resources and the know-how that they have available to them, and they're seeking a different way to do things, and in so doing they're really going to experience like a personal, you know, growth. And so a therapist who has experienced that or is experiencing that, you know, within themselves, I think is vital, because textbook learning is very different from actual, you know, going through a growth and healing transformation process yourself. So yeah, that's a great point. 100%. Yeah. Okay. The first part of the question I forgot.
Me too.
Okay. Well, your answer was great. We'll leave it at that. Okay. Well, we are excited to do these weekly lives. For anyone watching this after the fact, you know, these will be on our what do you call it? Our feed. Feel free to email me questions, emily@tnmentalwellness.com. Any kind of question therapy related that you might want some perspective on, and we'll be excited to keep bringing these.
Yeah, and I think don't the young people say like, share, subscribe, whatever?
Oh, yeah, do that.
To our Instagram.
And, yep, all of those thumbs up and stuff. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.